The sky above the new planet was a soft purple, streaked with silver clouds. The sun shone weakly through the mist, painting the ground with pale light. Humans had just started exploring this distant world, a place full of strange plants, glowing insects, and rivers that shone like liquid crystals. Captain Elias walked carefully through the forest, his boots sinking slightly into the soft moss. He loved discovering new worlds, but this one felt special, alive in a way he could not explain. "Captain, are you sure this path is safe?" asked Lieutenant Mara, a young woman with sharp eyes. Elias smiled. "It will be fine. Look around. The forest is calm. We need to reach that village near the river. We have to check on the local inhabitants." The humans approached a small alien settlement, hidden among giant, spiraling trees. The village was quiet, almost too quiet. Small huts made from organic materials curved into the shapes of shells and flowers. No one came to greet them at first. Then, from behind a low wall, a small figure appeared. She was unlike anything Elias had seen. Her skin had a soft blue-green hue, and her large, round eyes reflected the world like tiny mirrors. But what caught Elias's attention most was her stillness. She did not move her legs. Instead, she sat on a simple mat, her hands folded gently in her lap, watching the humans with wide eyes. "Hello," Elias said softly. "We are friends. We mean no harm." The girl blinked slowly, tilting her head. She did not speak, but her eyes followed every movement. Her expression was calm, yet it held a sadness that tugged at Elias's heart. Lieutenant Mara whispered, "Captain, she can't walk, can she?" Elias crouched slightly, keeping his tone gentle. "It seems so, but that does not mean she cannot communicate." The alien girl made a small gesture with her hands, pointing toward the forest, then back to herself. Elias understood she wanted to go somewhere, but she could not. "I think she wants to see the ocean," Elias said. His mind remembered stories from other explorers. The ocean on this planet was said to shine with colors, unlike any on Earth. He had to show her. "We will take her there." The other humans looked concerned. "Captain, are you sure?" She cannot walk. It will be difficult." Elias nodded firmly. "She deserves to see it. We cannot deny her that." The villagers watched silently from their huts. No one approached or protested. The girl gave a small nod, as if trusting Elias completely. He gently lowered himself to the ground. "Can I carry you?" he asked, smiling. The girl tilted her head again and, without a word, let him lift her onto his back. Her small hands rested lightly on his shoulders, and Elias felt a strange connection. As if she could sense his thoughts, the journey began. The forest was alive with sounds, soft whispers of wind through the trees, the hum of glowing insects, and the distant calls of alien birds. Elias walked carefully, making sure every step was safe. The girl did not speak, but her eyes followed everything, full of wonder. Sometimes she would touch a plant or reach toward a floating flower, and Elias would slow so she could experience it, her upper body. "She is strong," Lieutenant Mara whispered. "Even if her legs do not work, she can hold on tightly." "Yes," Elias said. "She is more capable than we realize. Pay attention to her hands and expressions. She understands more than we think." Hours passed. They crossed rivers on natural stone bridges, avoiding rushing water. They walked under towering trees whose leaves glowed faintly in the dim light. Occasionally, strange animals peeked from behind rocks, watching the humans with curiosity. Elias always spoke gently, introducing himself, explaining what they were seeing. The girl's eyes widened when they reached a clearing filled with tiny, glowing creatures that flitted like living lanterns. She reached out her hand instinctively, trying to touch one, and Elias smiled. "She is curious." "Intelligent," he said, I wonder what she has seen in her life so far. By late afternoon, they reached a hill overlooking the ocean. From a distance, Elias could see the waves sparkling like millions of tiny crystals, rolling gently onto a wide beach. He lowered himself to the ground, letting the girl sit on the sand. Her eyes widened even more, reflecting the shimmering water. A soft gasp escaped her lips, a sound the humans had never heard from her before. Beautiful, isn't it? Elias whispered. The girl nodded, her hands brushing the sand. She reached toward the water, but her legs remained still. Elias sat beside her, careful not to disturb her moment. The sun dipped lower, making the ocean glow even brighter. For a while, they were silent, simply watching the waves crash gently onto the shore. Then something unexpected happened. The girl's small hands moved rapidly, pointing at the water, then at herself. Elias tilted his head, curious. She smiled faintly, a small, secretive smile. It was almost mischievous. He realized she was trying to tell him something, but what? "Captain," Lieutenant Mara said quietly, "look at her legs." "Did you see that?" Elias looked down. For a brief moment, he thought he saw the girl's legs twitch, almost imperceptibly. Then they were still again. He frowned. Could it be a trick of the light? Or had she been hiding something all along? He did not ask immediately. Instead, he spoke softly to her. "You like the ocean, don't you?" The girl nodded, smiling wider this time. She leaned against his shoulder, as if sharing a silent trust. Elias realized then that there was more to her than anyone knew. She may appear paralyzed, but she had strength, intelligence, and perhaps secrets she had not yet revealed. As the sun disappeared behind the horizon, casting long shadows across the sand, Elias made a silent promise to himself. He would protect her, show her the wonders of this world, and help her find her own strength. Whatever it might be. The ocean shimmered under the last light of day, waves whispering secrets to those who would listen. Elias watched the girl, wondering what hidden abilities she might have, and felt a surge of hope. Perhaps this journey was not just about seeing the ocean. Perhaps it was about discovering the hidden potential in someone who had learned to hide it from the world. The first part of their story ended on that glowing shore, with the ocean stretching endlessly before them and the girl's secret smile hinting at adventures yet to come.
The sun rose slowly over the horizon, painting the sky with soft pink and orange hues. The ocean shimmered like millions of tiny stars, and the gentle waves lapped quietly against the shore. Captain Elias adjusted the strap on his shoulder and lifted the young alien girl, Lyra, carefully onto his back. She giggled softly, the sound light and musical as the sand brushed against her fingers. "Ready for the next part of our journey?" Elias asked, smiling down at her. Lyra nodded, her eyes sparkling with excitement. The forest awaited them beyond the beach, a tangled maze of glowing plants and towering trees. Elias knew the path would be difficult. Rivers had to be crossed, cliffs navigated, and strange creatures might appear. But he felt a calm confidence. Together they could manage anything. As they walked, Elias spoke quietly, pointing out the wonders of the forest. "See those trees? Their leaves change color at night. And those vines over there? They can glow bright blue if you touch them." Lyra's eyes followed his every gesture. She reached out with her hands to touch a floating vine, her fingers brushing the light. A small laugh escaped her lips. Elias smiled. This was a child who had seen so little of the world, yet now everything fascinated her. "Look, Captain," Lieutenant Mara called from a few steps behind. She pointed to a small river ahead. Its water flowed in bright green streams, almost glowing in the soft morning light. "It's not deep, but the current is strong," Elias nodded. "We can cross carefully." He set Lyra gently on a large stone, letting her sit for a moment while he examined the path. The water rushed around the stones, making soft splashes that echoed in the quiet forest. Elias moved carefully, stepping from stone to stone, ensuring every step was safe. Lyra watched intently. Then, unexpectedly, she pointed toward a narrow path along the river. Elias followed her gesture and realized she was guiding him. subtly but clearly. He paused for a moment, amazed. Despite appearing paralyzed, she was clever and aware of her surroundings. "You are smarter than I thought," he said softly. Lyra smiled, a small, secretive smile that seemed to say, "I know more than you think." Hours passed and the forest grew denser. Strange creatures peeked at them from behind trees, some with eyes that glowed like lanterns, others with long, delicate wings that shimmered in the sunlight. Elias and the team stayed calm. He knew that showing fear would make the creatures nervous, and he wanted Lyra to feel safe. At one point, a large animal appeared, a predator with a sleek, silver body and sharp but non-lethal claws. It stopped when it saw the humans, tilting its head curiously. Elias froze, waiting for the creature's move, but before it could approach, Lyra reached forward and tapped Elias's shoulder lightly, then pointed toward a small hidden path behind a cluster of trees. Elias understood immediately. He took the path, moving quickly but carefully. The predator followed for a moment, then turned back, uninterested in the humans. The team reached a safe clearing. Lieutenant Mara whispered, "Did you see that? She just saved us." "Yes," Elias replied, his voice low. "She may not walk, but she can guide us. She sees things we cannot." He felt a deep admiration for Lyra. The girl was not weak. She was strong in ways most could not measure. By late afternoon, they reached a series of low cliffs. The ocean was visible now, its sparkling waves calling to them. Elias lowered Lyra carefully onto a large rock. She leaned forward, reaching toward the water with her small hands, her eyes wide with wonder. "Almost there," Elias whispered. "We're so close." Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the cliffs, carrying the scent of salt and wet sand. Lyra's hair lifted with the breeze, and she laughed, a sound that made Elias's chest feel warm. She seemed freer here, closer to the ocean, than she had ever been anywhere else. Elias rested beside her, watching her reactions. Then he noticed something strange. Her legs, which had always seemed motionless, twitched slightly. He blinked, thinking it was the wind or the way she had shifted her body. But then it happened again, tiny, almost imperceptible movements as if she were testing herself. He frowned, curious. Could it be that she was hiding something? He remembered the secret smile she had given him on the shore. Perhaps she was more capable than anyone realized. Lyra looked up at Elias, her eyes shining. She made a small gesture with her hands, pointing at the water, then herself. Elias understood. She wanted to be closer to the waves, but she could not manage it on her own. He nodded gently. "Don't worry," he said. "I'll take you." He lifted her onto his back again, careful to keep her comfortable. Together, they moved down a narrow, winding path to the beach below. The sand was soft and warm, and the waves lapped gently at the shore. Lyra's eyes were wide with wonder, her small hands brushing the water. She laughed again, a sound full of joy and amazement. Elias sat down, letting her touch the ocean freely. The sun began to set, painting the waves with gold and purple. Lyra's small hands moved excitedly over the water, creating tiny splashes. She seemed so alive, so full of energy, despite her appearance. Lieutenant Mara watched quietly. "Captain, I think she's been hiding her strength from us." "Did you notice her legs just now?" Elias nodded. "Yes, there is more to her than we realize, but I won't rush her. She will show us when she is ready." For a long time, Elias and Lyra sat on the beach together. He told her stories of other planets, of humans who had explored the stars, and of oceans far away. Lyra listened carefully, her eyes reflecting the waves. Occasionally, she reached out her hands to mimic his gestures or to point at something that fascinated her. The night came, and the first stars appeared. The ocean glowed faintly under the moonlight, and the waves whispered their gentle song. Lyra leaned against Elias's shoulder, breathing softly, tired but happy. Elias realized then that this journey was about more than seeing the ocean. It was about trust, friendship, and discovering hidden strength. Lyra had taught him something important. Sometimes, those who appear weak are the strongest of all, carrying secrets and courage inside them, waiting for the right moment to shine. And as the moon rose over the ocean, Elias watched Lyra, wondering what would happen next. He felt certain of one thing. When the time came, she would reveal her true power, and it would be a moment no one would forget. The journey was far from over, but the bond between human and alien had grown stronger than ever, and together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, toward the shimmering ocean and beyond. The ocean stretched endlessly before them, glowing softly under the morning sun. Captain Elias stood on the beach, Lyra's small hands resting lightly on his shoulders. The waves crashed gently, sending sprays of sparkling water into the air. For the first time, the ocean seemed closer than ever, as if inviting Lyra to join it. Lyra's eyes were wide with wonder. She leaned forward slightly, her hands touching the wet sand. Her laughter bubbled up, pure and musical, filling the air with joy. For hours, she had watched, touched, and explored from Elias's back, but now she wanted something more. Elias knelt down, gently setting her on the sand. She looked at him with a mixture of anticipation and fear. "You can touch it," he said softly. "It's yours to enjoy." Lyra's hand sank into the sand, feeling its warmth and texture. The waves lapped at her fingers, and her eyes sparkled as if she had discovered a treasure. Then, almost instinctively, she pressed her hands to her chest and tilted her head toward Elias. Elias tilted his head back, studying her closely. He noticed something subtle, a tiny movement in her legs, almost imperceptible. At first, he thought it was a reflex, but then he realized it was intentional. Lyra was testing herself. "Could it be?" he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. His heart raced. Lyra looked out at the waves, then down at the sand, then back at Elias. She drew a deep breath, her small chest rising and falling. Slowly, carefully, she shifted her weight, her legs trembling under her body. Elias's eyes widened. Step by step, Lyra lifted herself. Her feet touched the sand. At first she wobbled, unsure, but she did not fall. She took another step, and then another. Her small hands reached out instinctively to balance herself, but her eyes never left the ocean. Elias could hardly believe what he was seeing. "Lyra, you can walk?" he asked, his voice trembling with amazement. She looked at him and nodded, her eyes shining with a mix of pride and joy. Then, without a word, she began to move toward the water. Her steps grew steadier, stronger, and more confident with each moment. The humans watching from behind let out soft gasps of awe. Lieutenant Mara stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "I never imagined," she whispered. Lyra reached the edge of the waves. The water lapped around her feet, sparkling in the sunlight. She laughed again, spinning in a circle, her joy overflowing. Elias watched, smiling through his own tears. He had known she was special, but seeing her walk, seeing her free, was beyond anything he could have imagined. For a long time, Lyra danced along the shore, running her fingers through the water, splashing it into the air and laughing freely. She was no longer the small, silent alien girl who had needed to be carried. She was strong, confident, and full of life. Finally, she turned to Elias. Her eyes met his, and in them, he saw gratitude, trust, and a deep bond that words could not describe. She raised her hands in a gesture that seemed to say, "Thank you." Elias knelt and extended his hand. Lyra took it briefly, squeezing it with a gentle strength that warmed his heart. Why didn't you tell anyone you could walk?" Elias asked softly, curious and amazed. Lyra tilted her head and smiled shyly. Then, using her own gestures, she pointed to her heart, then to the ocean, and finally back at Elias. Elias understood. She had hidden her ability not out of fear, but out of patience and trust. She had chosen the moment carefully, sharing her secret with someone she trusted completely. The humans watched silently, respecting the quiet magic of the moment. It was more than just a miracle. It was a lesson. Strength did not always come in obvious forms. Sometimes it was hidden, waiting for trust and opportunity to reveal itself. Elias stepped closer. "You are amazing, Lyra," he said. "The ocean is beautiful, but you are even more extraordinary." Lyra laughed, a sound that mingled with the rhythm of the waves. She ran her hands through the sand, let it slip through her fingers, and then kicked lightly at the water, making small splashes. The sunlight glinted off the waves, and she danced along the shore with freedom and joy. As the day passed, the humans helped her explore the beach and the shallow waters. They collected small shells, studied glowing creatures washed ashore, and even built a small sand bridge for her to walk over. Lyra's laughter and excitement filled the air, lifting the spirits of everyone around her. Elias watched her closely. He realized something profound. Humanity's strength was not just in technology or exploration, it was in empathy, patience, and the ability to inspire trust in others. By believing in her, by showing her kindness and respect, he had allowed Lyra to discover her own strength. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of gold and violet, Lyra sat on the sand looking out over the waves. Her small hands brushed the water and she smiled. Elias knelt beside her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You see," he said softly, "sometimes strength is hidden. Sometimes it waits for the right moment to shine. And you have shined today." Lyra leaned against him briefly, then stood. She took a few steps toward the ocean again, more confident than ever. Her legs were strong, her movements sure. She laughed aloud, a sound that echoed over the water and seemed to touch everything around her. The humans stood behind, watching silently, filled with admiration and respect. This was more than a moment of triumph. It was a testament to courage, trust, and the potential that lay in everyone, no matter how small or hidden it might appear. Finally, Lyra turned back to Elias, her eyes shining brightly. She made a simple gesture, pointing to the ocean, then to herself, and finally to him. Elias nodded, understanding completely. She had discovered her own strength, and in doing so, she had shared it with the humans around her. The waves continued to lap the shore. The sun sank low on the horizon, and the sky was filled with the soft glow of evening. Lyra danced one last time along the water, spinning freely, unafraid and full of life. Elias watched, smiling, knowing that this was only the beginning of her journey, and perhaps the beginning of a deeper bond between humans and the alien worlds they explored. The ocean was vast, beautiful and mysterious. But Lyra, once carried and now walking freely, had proven that the greatest wonders were not just in the world around them. They were in the courage, trust, and hidden strength within. And as the stars began to shine over the ocean, Elias knew that this moment, this story, would remain with them forever, a story of hope, friendship, and the triumph of spirit.